is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and now for something a little bit different, but actually not that different anymore for our channel. I've done several different pen displays and obviously a lot of different tablet PCs with pens. Most recently, I did the Uji 21-inch pen display, which means this is a display with an active digitizer. You can write on it with a pen. So that one is an example of one of the affordable Chinese imports, and it was somewhat competitive actually with older generations of Wacom technology. But how about this one? This is the Wacom Cintiq Pro 16 model, which is a 16-inch or technically 15.6-inch with a 4K display and an etched glass surface. So this one is a real leap ahead for Wacom, and I noticed there really weren't many reviews of it. Now, we reviewed the Wacom Mobile Studio Pro 13-inch not so long ago, and that's this right here, which has a computer inside as well, and it is available in the 16-inch, and the display on the 16-inch is pretty much what you get in the Cintiq Pro 16. But let's talk about that. This is just a display. It supports touch, even if you're using it with the Mac, and the pen, which is the new Pro Pen 2 with 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity, probably more than is actually meaningful for our senses. So same thing you get, but obviously a lower price, but because you're not paying for a computer inside as well. What's the point of that? Well, the versatility of being able to use this with any computer that you want. If the CPU or the graphics inside of your all-in-one tablet, or even something like this HP Spectre X360 15-inch, which has an Intrigue pen, become out of date, you got to swap out and pay for the whole thing. So with this, you're keeping your art monitor as a separate purchase. You got what you want here in terms of pen pressure levels, tilt, other features, color gamut. Cool. So you hook it into whatever PC or Mac you want. We're going to look at it now. So the 16-inch model, which I think is really pleasant for drawing on compared to the 13.3-inch size, which I find a little bit hard. Now, I tend to do things like natural-looking landscapes, a little bit towards the concept art, occasional portraits, so that's why. Those of you who are doing comics, that sort of thing, anime, probably are happy with the smaller screen because it works for that format well. So this one is $1,500. The 13-inch Pro model is $1,000, which is considerably less than the Mobile Studio Pro versions. Now, most exciting, Wacom just announced recently that they're going to have 24 and 32-inch models. Yay, for those of us who like to live large and have lots of screen real estate to draw, and to draw from the arm and the shoulder rather than from the wrist and the fingertips. And those are going to be out in January of 2018. And the 24-inch is going to be $2,000. The 32-inch, gosh, that is huge, is going to be $3,200. So as Wacom pricing goes, that's not too bad. But obviously, it's going to be a lot more expensive than the import competition from China. However, this generation makes such a big leap that the imports are really going to have to change their game. First off is that there's bonded glass here. So you know that parallax and the sense of you're drawing on the screen, but you're drawing through a window and what's actually happening is recessed down below. That's gone here thanks to the bonded glass, which is also true of the Mobile Studio Pro. So it makes for a much more immediate and precise drawing and painting experience. And I know some of you have gotten used to parallax. A few of you even actually like it at this point, but I'm not a fan of parallax. And it's also in keeping with the modern and less expensive Wacom AES digitizer and Intrigue digitizers, which typically have no parallax. This thing is accurate all the way up to the top. So using Photoshop menus is not a problem anymore. It's also fairly light, 3.3 pounds, which is 1.5 kilograms. So this is something, even though it's fairly decent size, you could take with you. It certainly does still have bezels on it, but for those who like to rest their hands on the edge of the glass, that might not be such a bad thing. It's gone all modern, much like Mobile Studio Pro, and you have USB-C ports only. And Wacom's instructions are not real good that are printed in the box. We have USB-C on this side right here, which is the side that you should be using if you want to output 4K directly via USB-C. This HP Spectre X360 has two USB-C/Thunderbolt 3 ports. You don't need Thunderbolt 3 to use the Wacom, but they're there. It has an SD card slot on this side, and it has another USB-C port, which I'm using for charging at the moment because it has a USB-C charger, but they suggest you use that if you use the included Wacom link, which is this little box right here that connects to the included mini DisplayPort and USB cables if you want to connect it to a, say, older MacBook Pro, like I have the 15-inch MacBook Pro. Now, they say that this only outputs at 2K if you're doing that. But it's not really the case. What the deal is here is that the DisplayPort cable they included, there are different versions of DisplayPort, older and newer. The older ones didn't do 4K resolution at 60 Hertz. So go out and get a newer mini DisplayPort cable that does support that spec, and they are available, they are out there, and you can even get 4K with the Mac as well on this screen right here. The charger is very compact right here, and what can you say? It's a charger. And you get plenty of cable length. You get this length here that runs to the USB-C and the part that runs to the power strip. So plenty enough to work with on that. And you get, of course, the Pro Pen 2, which is right here. And yes, you can get the felt nibs for this, for the Pro Pen 2 as well. I know a lot of people, including myself, like them. And here's the new stand. Now that everybody's copied the old stand, this is what the new stand looks like. And it's a press and turn on the bottom, and that reveals your nib puller and a couple of spare nibs inside. So it's a weighted stand. It's nice, it's classy. It's got a rubbery finish on it. The device itself feels like quality and looks like quality. It's a nice matte black aluminum. It's metal. It feels good. It looks good. It certainly should for the price. And you get the little pen holder up top too, so you can do that if you wish. Or you can do that too, whichever you like. I tend to do this just so I can knock it over by accident every so often. So what you really want to know, is this thing worth the money? Well, they are the de facto standard for high-end pen displays. So there's that. Yes, it is better, but is it worth that much money better? Like I said, for the generational jump, for the reduction in parallax alone, yes. The etched glass, there's no glare here. Now, I've actually been using that Uji 2150 IPS pen monitor, and I have to actually close the blinds in the room and shut off the overhead lights because of the glare. And then the drawback is that you're drawing kind of in the dark, so your sense of how bright your painting is really kind of thrown off. So it's less than ideal. So then you're thinking about, well, putting on matte screensavers and all that kind of thing. Not a problem here. And etched glass is etched glass. It's durable too. It's not something that you're going to destroy. Also, the colors on this are to die for, and the color accuracy, as you can see here, really very impressive. Now, Wacom claims a 94% of Adobe RGB coverage. We measured 91%, which is pretty close, and that is absolutely stellar. So for those of you doing professional work, and I think a lot of people who buy this sort of product are, color accuracy and gamut, particularly if you're working for print and you need something higher than sRGB, you've got it here. Brightness is decent at 250 nits. Contrast, of course, is going to be variable because it is a monitor and has Wacom settings for controlling the contrast level, but 1000 to 1 is the max contrast level. I didn't really see much IPS glow around the edges either. It's actually better than this Mobile Studio Pro Review loaner that we have in terms of that, but that's probably just luck of the draw. IPS tends to have a little glow or brightness around the edges. Now, speaking of those import sort of clones, they're not really clones, they're doing their own thing. If you think Wacom drivers are bad, well, yeah. The challenges with Huion and XP Pen and UG drivers are that they're a little bit funky, and there's usually some pretty basic flaws, and they don't update them as quickly, whereas Wacom usually comes out with new driver updates every 2-3 weeks or so, often enough. You might have to wait 6 or 9 months to see some bugs fixed. I noticed some on Windows with the Uji, for example. I've seen some with Huion and on the Mac. And you don't get a whole lot of settings there. You might get pen pressure levels and calibration, that's about it. And the pen pressure levels sometimes are only to reduce sensitivity, not to increase it, which is a little bit odd. They do have pretty good digitizers, though, those clones. The UC Logic digitizers have pretty decent pressure curves. They don't have tilt. Of course, you're getting tilt here, like 64 degrees of tilt and 60 levels detected. So for those of you who are doing more traditional sketching and painting techniques, that's a big win here, and it's probably worth paying for if you're doing this pretty seriously. Now, with Wacom's drivers, they're very full-featured, and that's pretty nice. You can have different pen settings for each application that you're using. That's really handy. There's no express keys here on the side of the display, which is too bad, nothing built in. So you have to buy the $99 express key remote if you want to get that functionality. That's all controlled through the driver too. So yes, Wacom drivers can be quirky and buggy. Usually when they have a brand new level of technology rolling out like they did with this here, you see some quirkiness. And it takes about 3 months for them to iron all the bugs out, which is why I waited about 3 months before reviewing this. Now that everything's settled down, it behaves well. That diagonal line jitter you might have read about in the 16-inch Cintiq Pro was fixed with the pen driver firmware update in June, and it worked, and I ran that and it went absolutely fine, and there's no more diagonal pen jitter, which is something you should never see on Wacom EMR technology, and this is an EMR digitizer, which means the display is the active digitizer and the pen is the passive part in this, which means the pen doesn't need to be charged, does not have a battery. Pen does have the usual 2 buttons and an eraser on the end. It's the usual Wacom pen. It's comfortable. It has a rubbery, latex-free grip on it and feels nice enough. One thing to note, there is a fan inside this pen display. Yes, there is. You'll hear it about as loud as your average mid-range laptop. Not a gaming laptop, which just means not super loud, but not really quiet like a 13-inch average Ultrabook. And the good news is it keeps the display surface pretty cool, so your hand's not going to get sweaty. As is usual with Wacom these days, you don't get a stand. It has two little flippy out feet that raise it about 1.5 inches off the desk. I'm using a Kensington Smart Fit Easy Writer $25 laptop stand, and it's adjustable, and I find that works pretty well. So you don't have to buy some fancy pants expensive stand if you want to use it with this. So is it worth it? Do I like it a whole lot better? And you know, it's a lot of money, I know, to spend on this, but if you're a real serious hobbyist or if you're a professional, I would have to say it is. Just when you draw with this, it just feels buttery and smooth and accurate. The latency is very small. Now, it's going to depend on what brush you're using and what PC is driving it, of course, because part of that's performance related. But using just a simple pen, say in Photoshop as a test, a pencil or an ink pen or something like that, the latency is super, super low on this. Certainly the iPad Pro isn't laughing on its way home from the store about having better latency. The pressure levels, the pressure curves, the adjustability of them is just dreamy. It ends up feeling really close to working with a flowing art device. So in that respect, yes, it is. The colors on this are fantastic. The color accuracy out of the box it's just wonderful. So yes, if you can afford one, or if work's buying one from you, or it's been your dream, it's still the best out there. Would it be nice if it wasn't so darn expensive? Sure it would. But right now, Wacom has no competition at this quality level. Once again, they've upped the ante. You know, just when it was like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things, including tablet PCs like this, that were really starting to encroach on it. Well, they've moved it up to a whole new level of performance. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.